Okay, you know that email. The one from HR that asks you to please rank your workplace. You think about it, you give your honest feedback, and then what? Ever wonder what actually goes on in that black box after you finally click submit? Well, let's pull back the curtain and find out. It always starts with a line just like this, doesn't it? We encourage you to be honest and objective. It sounds so great, so empowering. It's designed to make you feel like your voice truly, genuinely matters. And on the surface, it's a fantastic starting point. But here's the big question. Because this isn't just some internal survey to make the office a little nicer. Nope. This is about a public score. It's about a competitive ranking. And it's governed by a surprisingly strict set of rules that turns your honest feedback into a really high-stakes game. And yeah, it all kicks off with that one familiar email landing in everyone's inbox. It's that public plea for your participation. And the pitch they give you is always super compelling, right? They promise your feedback is totally anonymous, that it has a real-time impact on things, and that you can even go back and change your rating whenever you want. The whole thing is framed as this powerful tool that's really for your benefit. So it really does seem like a perfect win-win situation. You get to speak your mind, the company gets better. But that simple little transaction, well, that's where the story gets a whole lot more interesting, and believe me, a lot more complicated. See, because the second your feedback enters that system, it stops being just your opinion. It becomes a data point in a very serious competition, one with some very, very strict rules. And this is where it gets real. The platforms that run these rankings, they have this thing called a data integrity warning. Now, if they even suspect a company is trying to game the system or cheat, they can slap them with this penalty, which is, let me tell you, a massive blow to a company's reputation. So how do companies stay on the right side of the rules? Well, they have to be incredibly careful about one specific thing, and it all boils down to a single critical word: coaching. In this employer ranking game, coaching is basically the ultimate sin. It's any move by an employer to influence what you say or how you score them, whether that's handing out scripts, offering rewards for a good rating, or just pressuring you. It's all forbidden. And you can see just how fine that line is. Take a look. Just emailing a link to the portal? Totally fine. That just encourages people to participate. But what about offering a free coffee if you show them your review completed screen? That's risky. It can feel like they're trying to monitor you. And telling people, hey, don't forget to mention the new gym, whoa, that is textbook scripting and a major, major violation. Here's another way to look at it that makes it crystal clear. Incentivizing participation is okay. Saying, hey, if we get half the staff to vote, we'll have a pizza party. That's all about engagement. But incentivizing a specific outcome, like gift cards for everybody if our score hits an 8.5, that is absolutely forbidden. One encourages you to have a voice, the other demands a certain result. Big difference. Okay, so if the rules are this tight, how in the world does leadership actually use this data? Well, turns out they have their own secret playbook for tracking their results without crossing that red line. So the smart strategy inside the company isn't about freaking out over the score every single day. It's actually a three-step process. First, they look for long-term trends, not single data points. Second, they dive deep into the actual comments to understand the why behind the scores. And third, they keep a really close eye on the calendar, watching for when old reviews are about to expire. And this is all about having perspective, right? If one person leaves a scathing one-star review, sure, the score might dip for a day, but it doesn't really mean much in the grand scheme of things. What leaders are really looking for are the patterns. Is the work-life balance score slowly, steadily ticking down over 3 months? Now that is a signal that something real is going on. And get this is a fascinating little rule. Any review you leave is only active in the system for 12 months. Then it sunsets and disappears from the calculation. This means companies cannot just rest on their laurels. A fantastic score from last year isn't going to save them this year. They need a continuous stream of fresh feedback to stay on top. All right, so the big question, what happens if the score really is low and the trend is going in the wrong direction? How does a company fix it without breaking all those coaching rules? Well, the answer is actually pretty counterintuitive. The very first move isn't to get defensive or make excuses. It's to be totally transparent. The official recommendation is to acknowledge the bad score publicly within the company. Say something like this: it shows they're actually listening and taking the data seriously. which, ironically, is one of the best ways to build trust back up. But here it is. Here's the real pro move. The number one most effective way to fix a low score is not to argue with the negative reviews, it's to drown them in more data. The absolute goal is to drive up the sheer volume of reviews from everyone. And this simple chart shows you exactly why that strategy works. A really low score is often just the result of a small number of very unhappy people who, let's be honest, are always the most motivated to leave feedback. But if you can get a much larger, more representative group of people to vote, the score will almost always move toward a more accurate and usually much higher average. It's just simple math. So we've seen the public pitch, we've seen the secret rules, and we've seen the internal playbook. What does all of this mean for you the next time that email pops up asking you to vote? It really just boils down to this. Everyone involved claims they want raw, unfiltered honesty. But the system itself creates this powerful incentive to manage, to shape, and to influence that honesty. It's this constant tug of war between asking for the truth and secretly hoping for a very specific answer. And that leaves us with one last really crucial question to chew on. When there's a number on the line, a public score that impacts recruiting, reputation, and let's face it, pride, is it actually possible to get a purely authentic response? Or will there always be a thumb on the scale? Something to think about the next time you click submit.